Hey, good morning, everyone. It's your boy, the Mad Scientist, back at it again with another First Look Prop Show. Our breakdown was on point yesterday, as all of our top targets from yesterday's video hit, including Jokic's first half fantasy points. He cleared this easily in just the first quarter by going nuclear for 35 fantasy points. And Kevin Porter Jr., Jalen Green, and Davion Mitchell props hit too. Capella's first half fantasy point prop cleared too, and lastly, Halliburton crushed his assist prop. We had a lot of screenshots in our group Discord showing hits, so I hope all of you crushed it too. The Kings-Rockets game came through as expected. We invested in Jalen Green's points and 3-point props heavily. He went off by going 6 of 14 from 3, and KPJ finished with a triple-double. We were also on his 4.5 rebound prop too, which he destroyed. Davion Mitchell came up big with another strong performance in the absence of Fox. I really like this kid. He's a natural hooper with that bulldog-like mentality that you just can't teach, which makes him an elite defender. Coaches always say that great defenders have two crucial traits. One, they can control the situation with aggressive coverage. Two, they have the ability to recover and regain positioning after getting burned. You see this time and again with Davion, and it was on display with that last play of the game yesterday. So the Rockets were down 3 with 10 seconds left, and KPJ got the inbound and was looking to shoot the 3 for the tie. But Davion moved him off the line and completely dictated positioning, which forced KPJ to pass it off to the less ideal 3-point shooter in Josh Christopher, and of course he missed. I recommend going back to watch that play if you really appreciate great defense. Damian Jones had a career night against this depleted Rockets front court, which is not surprising, and he was another key target for us. This game was by far my favorite primary stack of the slate, and it did not disappoint. But let's have a candid moment for a minute to share my thought process and experience with building prop cards. I just wanted to share these thoughts with you guys to try and possibly help when you're in those final grind moments building a card right before lock. From all of my intensive film breakdown and research and prop construction, the most important thing I've learned is to just really trust your process and gut calls. This is your ultimate edge over the house and Vegas odds. The house wants you to follow trends and stat lines like hit rates, i.e. this guy hit this prop X amount of times across this many games, etc. But really your intuition is something they don't have control over, and they can't account for that. I must admit that at times I will get off my initial process and breakdown and get on new props that pop up, and a large portion of the time my first gut calls come through while these new targets or props that I get on tend to fail more so. Now, I'm not saying that it's a perfect system and that your gut calls have a 100% success rate, but I would argue that those initial calls that were established through careful examination or intuition tend to have a higher probability of hitting. So trust your gut and your process. Here's an example from last night. I was all in on Rockets and Kings game since the night before, so I wanted to fully stack it with a 4 power play card that included KPJ, Jalen Green, Davion, and Damian Jones. I ended up building this card, but then I got attracted to the very low fantasy point prop of Cat. So I ended up swapping him in for my original Jalen Green 3-point prop. And then on top of that, 30 minutes before lock, I saw the news that Alex Len was playing for the Kings. But deep down, I knew that he would not play many minutes because I read articles and listened to podcasts from Kings beat writers, including Locked On Kings podcast. And they all said that the Kings are in full development mode to get these young guys like Damian Jones more run and experience to see what they have in them. Which ended up being correct, as Damian Jones played 34 minutes while Alex Len finished with just 4 minutes. Also, I watched game film of the recent Kings games and knew that Damian Jones and Davion Mitchell were building strong chemistry and becoming a really dynamic duo. But that Alex Len news caused some panic, so I late swapped out Damian Jones' point prop right before submitting. This happens to all of us, where we end up asking ourselves, why did I not play this person or prop? So basically, all I'm trying to say is trust your gut in your process. It's your ultimate edge. I really enjoyed going through this whole prop hunting process with you guys, and the whole reason I do these videos and share my info on streams is to extend my passion for basketball to you in hopes that it can help in some way. That's the only incentive. I don't get anything else from doing this. It's all for you guys. We are a team. Now onto this small 5-game slate today. 2 of these games have double-digit spreads, while the other 3 games have 5 or less points. So, let's get hunting. The 76ers at Pistons has a 10-point spread with a 222 implied total. This is the first game of the slate starting at 7 p.m. Eastern, and it has the second highest spread. However, we have mentioned before that the Pistons have been keeping games close lately, even against tough opponents like we just saw with the recent matchup against the Nets. In fact, since the All-Star break, they have an average point differential of only 6.4 points across 15 games, and half of those games were against playoff-tending teams, such as the Celtics, Heat, Nets, and Raptors. Therefore, I'm going to predict and hope the game will stay close and we have starters going into the fourth quarter. If that's the case, then Embiid and Harden are fully live here in this great matchup. And the Pistons have two very exploitable weaknesses. One, they allow the most free throw attempts, and two, they have the worst rebounding percentage in the league. On top of that, we have two of the most foul magnet players in Embiid and Harden coming into the mix, and they both can rebound at a very high rate. So their free throw and rebound props are definitely in play. We could also consider Tobias's rebound prop as well. This is a revenge game for Tobias coming back to his old stomping grounds in Detroit, and he's starting to find his groove and carve out a new role in this offense. So his point prop might be in play too. But my primary focus will be on Embiid and Harden. If we wanted to encompass their rebound and point potential, then maybe we could go with their fantasy point or PRA. Assist props are always risky targeting when going against foul-centric teams like the Pistons, since their high frequency of fouls reduces the overall number of possible assist opportunities. So I might tread lightly on the assist prop. On the Pistons side, I will continue to target guys like Cade, who are young rooks trying to gain experience and more run. He is showing why he was the number one pick, and most likely the rookie of the year. He has put this unit on his back lately. And last game, he was on pace to clear his assist prop, but he ended up going to the locker room with an injury and missing out on some key minutes. So he ended up falling one short. But if his assist prop remains around 6, then we can definitely target that again. Also, his fantasy point prop is always in play since he has been aggressive on defense and racking up steals and blocks. Bagley point prop will be fringe today since I worry about him getting into foul trouble again, especially against guys like Embiid and Harden. The Bucks at Nets has a 1-point spread with the 238 implied total. This game has the highest implied total and the smallest spread. This is the game. This could be a playoff preview part 2, as these two teams faced off in last year's playoffs. They also played a month ago and it was a great game. The Nets won 126-123, and Kyrie finished with 38 points, with KD sidelined that game. And Seth Curry went 4-9 from 3, which we know is the Bucks' weakness, giving up the 3-ball. So Nets 3-point props will be primary target, including Kyrie, KD, and Seth Curry. Currently, they only have a 3-point prop for KD set at 2.5 on the board, but this is still live. I also like KD's 5.5 assists, since he will look to kick it out to open 3-point shooters in this matchup. Same goes for Kyrie too. But we can also consider Kyrie's point prop as well, especially if we don't get a 3-point prop for him. But if this game is anything like the last one, then Kyrie and KD's fantasy point props are definitely in play in order to get access to all of their stats, especially if they play big minutes in a competitive game. And the same goes for Giannis. He will have to go full armor Titan mode to carry the team, just like he did against Embiid and Harden recently. Jrue Holiday's assist prop was currently at 6.5, so I like that in a possible shootout, where he will play big minutes as well. We can also consider Middleton's assist prop too. Both of them have a lot of assist opportunities via Giannis and Brook Lopez being back for his 3-point shooting. But for the Bucks, my main two targets will be Giannis's fantasy points and Drew's 6.5 assist props.
Hey guys, it's Tanny. I'm just here to let you guys know about the free Discord that we did launch. The link for it is in the description down below. Jump in there, share your screenshots, talk about your favorite props on Prizepicks, and share your DFS lines, and we'll all talk about it.
The Cavs at Hawks has a 5-point spread with a 222 implied total. Both teams are on a back-to-back after playing last night. In their recent matchup last month, both Garland and Trey went at it with big games. Trey dropped 41 real points and Garland finished with 30. And Mobley played in that game, but he is out again today. We could see the same thing today with both defenses limping into the playoffs and allowing so many points to guards. So I really like Trey and Garland point props today. Their fantasy point props are always in play too, since they rack up a lot of assists. LeVert had his best game as a Cav last night by dropping 32 real points. And Bickerstaff said after the game, quote, "This is who LeVert is. It was just a matter of time," end quote. So I assume LeVert will continue to play a large role in the starting unit, and we could go back to him again today. This game could be another shootout like their last meeting. Also, the Cavs have been getting destroyed in the paint, something to think about with Capella's rebound or fantasy point prop, so this might make our fringe list. The Clippers at Bulls has a 3-point spread with a 223 implied total. The Clippers' rotations and minutes have been very frustrating to deal with, but Ty Lue recently said that he plans on getting everyone playoff ready over the final 6 games because he wants them to play more minutes with Paul George so they can establish playoff flow and rotations. So it sounds like the minute caps are lifted now, and we have a more clear picture, possibly. Paul George went nuclear in his first game back. I'm curious to see his fantasy point prop after that outing. It was at 36 fantasy points, so imagine it will go up to 45 plus, especially in this matchup, as the Bulls have the 5th worst defensive rating since the All-Star break. I think Paul George will be the only target on the Clippers side for me. I really just can't trust anyone else. For the Bulls, I'm most interested in Vooch's rebound prop since the Clippers have struggled to rebound all season long. But maybe that improves somewhat with Paul George being back in the mix. I will also look out for double props for Vooch, which we have seen in the past. DeRozan has been up and down with his shooting lately, and Paul George will cause some problems for him. So I think Vooch has the best matchup, so probably mainly look to him for Bulls props. The Lakers at Jazz has a 12-point spread and a 225 implied total. This is the late night Hammer TNT game, and it has the highest spread of the slate. LeBron is out again, which is unfortunate as always. So we know what that means. Westbrook for the win. He tried carrying the team last game against the Cavs, and he cleared both his PRA and fantasy point props in that game. I assume both of those props will be juiced a lot today, but his fantasy point prop will be in play because we know Gunn's projection model will be broken for him as always. Also, we know that Westbrook gets up for these games in Utah after all the fan hate and conflict that he's experienced there. He just really does not like the fans in Utah at all. The Jazz are coming off a disappointing loss to the Clippers the other night, and this is a perfect bounce back spot for them at home, where they usually thrive, and they're going against a very weak Lakers unit. Donovan Mitchell continues to switch his role between distributor to attack scoring mode, and we just really can't pinpoint the pattern. It just seems really random. However, I think he should score at ease today against this Lakers squad, so his point prop is definitely in play. I also like his free throw prop a lot since the Lakers do rank in the top 5 for most free throw attempts allowed, especially with foul happy guys in the lineup like Wayne Gabriel. So let's recap our favorite targets so far. First, Embiid's fantasy points and his free throw prop if it's around 9. Second, Harden's 7 rebounds or free throw prop if it's around 7. Third, Kyrie's 25.5 points. Fourth, KD's 2.5 3-point prop or his fantasy point prop. And lastly, Giannis's fantasy points. While this might be a small slate with less options, I do like the pieces that we have to work with. I think my primary focus will be on the Bucks Nets game, and then I'll just intermix different key targets from the other games. But let me know what you think of the slate in the comments section below. Do you think it's a trap slate with mostly letdown blowouts? Or do you think we get some fruitful shootouts, which is what I'm hoping for? And let us know what your favorite props are. We'll be sure to respond. Also, hit that like button on the way out. We always appreciate that. And subscribe if you're not part of the Run DFS crew yet. Definitely come hang out with us during our live streams later today at 2 p.m. Eastern. It's always a lot of fun, and we will go over game script and theory in order to try to nail down these props. As always, best of luck. I hope you crush it, and trust the process. Take care, everyone.